Okay, I want to give you a quick review of the Epson scanner that I use to scan negatives. This is what it looks like. It's a dual bed. It scans the negatives from the bottom and also from the top. So um, the Epson comes in with these film holders. As you can see, I covered the last three because I really don't do that many at a time, but you're able to do, up to 4 strips. And I think each side can do, I think I would say 5 strips safely without getting the corners wrong. So, Epson, this is the 750. It brings you several plates, and each film holder has these little notches, as you can see there. Um, and then what these go right to the correspondent, signs there. Like it has a little notch, and they just folds in. And this is the negative right there. You know, I think you have to put the glossy side up. I just can't remember. Um, and it helps to have, a little wind blower for dust, stuff like that. You gotta control the dust. It just gets everywhere. Um, what I use is this A&R glass. This is called anti-Newton ring glass, and it, as maybe you can see it from here, it has a glossy side, and then it has a dull side. The dull side has to go downward towards the negative. I'm touching it with my hands now, but I should be wearing uh, white gloves just so the prints don't come in, because the prints, you'll be able to see the prints easily. And this goes down just like that, and it has to click in safely. You know, sometimes the negative is kind of warped, and this actually helps it flatten it out. So, what you get is actually less distortions because the negative is not warped from either side, from either vertical or horizontal. So once you place this, you just close the door in and then go over to the computer. Okay, this is a view of the scanner bed, and when on occasion the scanner will crop the pictures individually and put them in these slots. As long as like one strip does not go into the other one, that means it has correctly, the software has correctly identified the negatives, and they're all checked. It's hard to see it here, but there's a little check mark, and those indicate the ones you want scanned. So, you can scan all 4 of these at the same time. Well, it'll scan each one individually, and it'll output all pictures um, to your desktop or whatever folder you want to get. And this one was a preview. This information here is correct. This is just a preview from last scanning that I did. In order for me to scan the new negative, I have to input the correct information on this side, whether you have transparency or black and white negative, or just a plain piece of paper, and it gives you the option to either 16 bits grayscale or 8-bit grayscale. The negative I have right now is actually a color film, so I'm going to put color negative film. Positive film means a slide. So I'm going to put it to the best I can. You could do 24-bit color, but that's, for a negative that size, 16-bit, 24-bit, sorry, 24-bit color, at 2400 dpi. You're able to do it at 12,800 dpi, but that, I don't think this computer can process something like that. I will need something a little bit more powerful. Has a dual quad core. So once you set your DPI, Then you can play with your on sharp mask. I always leave it at low. And there's grain reduction. I like to keep the grain. Color restoration, backlight correction. There's actually an option to give you histogram. You could play around with the curves. If you have a certain preset, you can do the presets here, and it'll output all the pictures with your preset. I tend to do it in Photoshop because I don't do too many, so I do them individually. Each one, for me, requires a different kind of care. So once I hit preview, it's going to start scanning the negatives that it has right now, and then it will output on this side um, all the negatives that that are on the film strip. It takes a little bit for the scanner to warm up. It's not something that's instantaneous, and it just shows you that it's a quality. It's one of the best ones, best scanners, and the best thing about scanning your own material is that you have full control of the quality. Full quality control. Uh, it's not somebody manhandling your or mishandling your negatives, and and you're basically controlling every little bit of it, making sure that it's flat. The A&R glass or anti-Newton ring glass it helps out a lot. So when it first scans, the first pass, you see it in true negative form, but the program itself will transform it into the actual positive form. And if they come in sideways, you're able to switch orientations, so you can basically preview a little bit better, and you're able to select which ones that you want to scan. Now I'm gonna select out of all these three, just gonna select this one right here. This one right here. I'm gonna select that one, and I'm gonna ask it to scan. Okay, now that I got my image onto the desktop, I'm able to open it up in Photoshop. Okay, Photoshop opens up, and if you have this uh, camera raw preview in Photoshop, you can basically do some of the alterations here before you actually really start getting into the complexities of the color if you wish to do that. Now, this picture right here is from a negative that's really close to 20 years old. Uh, from this very image here, I can see there's a lot of dust, and I actually didn't clean it. It's just a quick preview. But basically, you can alter the temperature, saturation. You could saturate it a little bit more. Not The information is not totally lost. It's just up to you to know how to recover some of the color variations, and whether it was a bright day or dull day, you can play around with the exposure, stuff like that. This will be kind of like a Lightroom. Once you open up the image and you really want to do get the most of do it with the most Photoshop can do. uh, Photoshop has a lot of tools, especially when it comes to the tonality and things like that. Um, so once you get your image, you can put a date stamp on it, your name, just the usual Photoshop stuff, and output it as you save it as a JPEG, and then you go on to the next one. Going back to the scanner, once the image is done or the images are done, You remove the negative, the glass. You could buy actually 4 strips of this A&R glass and put in each one so everything is nice and flat. It will be a nice workflow. But basically, this is your film holder right here. This scanner uh, comes in not only with the 35 millimeter, but also comes in with the medium format, and the medium format holds 2 strips. And I have a piece of A&R glass that fits in here, and of course fits in here, but I only do 1 strip at a time. So I put a piece of paper or construction laminate here to dull this side out, because then it'll come out. It's less processing for the computer when I only need this side. So this is the medium format. It could be either 6 by 6, 5 by 7. I mean 6 by 6 or 4 by 6. So the Mamiya cameras, or any other Hasselblad cameras, negatives. As long as it's 120 film, it'll fit in there perfectly. But another thing is that A&R glass that I told you about, that makes the negative very flat, so it helps out a lot. This also comes with a 4 by 5 uh, film holder. I only use one side, but you can basically scan two 4 by 5s, and I wouldn't need an extra A&R glass to have this side. Now, the next one after that is the 5 by 7. Epson does not make a 5 by 7. I had to make my own 5 by 7 from 2 pieces of construction paper, illustration boards. The it's 2 sides with graph tape. One side is actually a little slightly smaller than the above side, so the glass, because I had a custom A&R glass made 5 by 7, fits in here, so the negative will fall right onto the lip, stay there, and then the A&R glass will hold it flat up against the lip over here. And of course the plate will keep that side flat as well. And uh, if you notice, there's a little gap right here. This indicates to the scanner that it's a film picture. It does help to give it, especially over here, a little space, so it could be, imitate the film holders. And this is my 5 by 7, so it works. I don't usually do too many 5 by 7s, but when I need it, it's here to do. And this probably is like $4 or $5 when you make it yourself with graph tape. So you just gotta be precise in your exacto knife cutting and your measurements. Yeah. So that's the Epson. Now this Epson also comes with a wet scan plate. Basically, it's the same film holder, but it's a transparent piece of glass that you gotta put wet scan oil on the bottom, and then you put your negative, and then you put a piece of acetate on top of that, and then you have to seal it with 3M tape, the painter's tape, and that keeps the oil, the scanning oil, from completely evaporating, because it just evaporates so rapidly that because it doesn't do any damage to the negative, but it does evaporate. So the piece of 3M keeps it from completely evaporating, and it gives you time to scan it. You could arrange it, scan it, and then it gives you enough time for that. And once you take it off, it doesn't alter the negative anyway, and evaporates, and all you got to do is maybe a little cleaning of the scanner bed. I usually use also this is a anti-static cloth. and I try to keep every time I scan, take the plates off. I try to actually give it a pass, and I also have one of the like a razor brush, just keep the dust off, because with the light here, with both lights, you see the amount of dust that falls on it. You can't see it on the video, but there's a lot of dust that falls on it. It just keeps on falling. So it's always important too that you work in an environment that you are able that's less dust. You can't avoid it, but for each pass, you got to make sure, if you have one of those cans, those bottled cans, you'll be able to keep that off. But eventually some of them do show up on the negative, and it's easy in Photoshop to get rid of that. So that's like a quick review. Hopefully you enjoy it.